Hi Danny, is this you when you take your hat off?
And that is a round of 69 to open his Sony Open. Back to 17.
Bloody hell! No, I'm that pale all over. Hi Danny, the dipstick lickers reached saxophone. 2 seconds into that video that was. What a dipstick. Hi Danny, you're in my top 5 YouTubers I'd like to go for a pint with. Well actually, now you can get the virtual experience thanks to Sapco's Pub Stories, drawn by Hustler by name. So, about 10 years ago I had a gig at a fancy dress party at an unnamed rugby club function room. That's me on the right there in this to scale image. And as more people turned up, I was appalled to see at least 6 people in blackface, including some very offensive portrayals of Serena Williams and the cast of Cool Runnings. I suggested we immediately got the hell out of there and shamed them all over Facebook. My best mate's mixed race and sometimes joined us on keyboards. Imagine if he'd been at that gig. And I had a right row with the singer, who insisted we just shut up and play and take their money and go home. Nowadays I wouldn't have even entertained the idea, but my younger self just got through it and the band were paid. And as we were packing down, I noticed that the boys from Cool Runnings had abandoned the canoe they were using as a bobsled. And in a strange act of petty revenge against the singer, I decided I was going to go bike lock it onto his car tyre at his house. So I attached it on the roof of my motor with bungee ropes. That's a pretty accurate depiction of my first car actually. That thing's a story for another day. And so I set off with canoe attached, but while bombing it up a hill, I heard this boing, and looked in the rearview mirror to see the thing absolutely bouncing down the slope. Sapco's Pub Stories. I feel like back then I was much shyer and I let people get away with stuff I disagreed with. But in my 30s I've developed this sense of not giving a f*** and just doing what I think is morally right. Which leads me on rather nicely to the topic of today's video. Now, a few months ago I posted a clip about a suspicious looking event named BEHS Day Europe. I'm going to show you as much of this as I'm legally allowed to. And when I checked it out, something didn't feel quite right. You can now buy tickets starting at £29 for a show featuring some well-known names on the 1st of June. But you click on the list of exhibitors and there's nothing to be found. Now, this event was initially taking place at a venue called Magazine in London, which then changed to a pizza place in Islington apparently, and is now, supposedly, taking place here at the City of London School. So this fella said he contacted the venue and they had nothing in their diary. I enjoyed the comment above. And when I went to the venue's website, it lists every room on that date as available to be booked. And it seems Eventbrite are also advertising a BEHS event the day before, taking place in this building. So what the hell is going on? Is it a scam? If you have any info, please let us know in the comments. We must protect and defend our BEHS community. I then did a follow-up video which explained the rather serious backlash I received for what I believe were genuine concerns. And then I woke up at midnight to my phone going absolutely bonkers, buzzing and beeping and going mad. I thought me nan were dead. But no, it was BEHS Review Magazine and BEHS Day Europe and God knows whoever else. Voice messages, Instagram messages, a load of Facebook comments, emails, website submissions. I was being attacked on all fronts on bloody Monday at midnight, and they alleged that I'd caused chaos and confusion. Me, chaos. And one of them was threatening legal action on Instagram if I don't respond by 5 PM. But no, by 1 PM again they'd changed their mind and served me this legal notice demanding I immediately take down the video. It seemed that BEHS Day Europe and BEHS Review Magazine had seen my claims as choo-choo, you bastards! And so I took the first video down. I even apologised and I wrote them a song that they could use for promotion. Bring your vodka and your whiskey and your Charlie Sheen, 'cause June the 1st we're partying with BEHS Review Magazine. Get ready for BEHS Day Europe, it's apparently not a scam. Spend your hard-earned money now and join the BEHS Day gang. From there were some positive signs. The BEHS Day Europe site put up a list of exhibitors. There were blog posts such as this from Vintage Bass Room, putting people's minds at ease, and people started buying tickets. I even bumped into BEHS Review Magazine at the Birmingham Guitar Show, and I was astonished to find out that it was just one guy running the show and the magazine named Dan Edwin. I was expecting some massive organisation with a team of golf-obsessed pricks sporting Windsor knotted neckties. But no, it was just Dan. And he wasn't shying away. He was talking to people in person about his magazine and his show. And we even shook hands. Dan Edwin isn't his real name apparently, and he just seems to have popped up out of nowhere, but he was there. At this point I was satisfied that this whole thing wasn't just a huge scam as such, but still, something didn't feel quite right. And then this appeared on the BEHS Day Europe website. The event would not be going ahead as planned and would be postponed to next year. And so after I saw a lot of confusion and unanswered questions online, and a very different post from Vintage Bass Room, I went back into detective mode. Firstly, I want to say that some very respected people were fully in support of Dan and the show. These are messages from Philip Mann, Johnny Dibble and Ashdown Amps. But others were not so positive. Vintage at JHS were unaware it was cancelled and were only informed when I contacted them. Andy Baxter, who was also responsible for Mike Lull Guitars that's pictured top right, was only informed about the cancellation when I rang him weeks later. Labella Strings seemed to not know much about the event, as their representation, along with Alinto and Guitar Shop, would be coming from Ian Martin Allison, I believe. And then there's Meta Guitars, which you can see in the top row. They're a company from France, and I rang them up and we managed to have a conversation despite them not speaking very good English, and me speaking even worse English. They were surprised to find out from me that the show had been cancelled, as they were also never notified by the organiser. Initially, Dan had contacted them to ask if they'd exhibit at his show. They said maybe, but then saw their logo listed on the website. They were told that they really wanted them to be there and that there would be no charge for exhibiting. 2 weeks before the cancellation, Dan assured them that the show was going ahead, and Meta Guitars booked non-refundable train tickets from France to get to the show. Bloody hell. But they also wish to say that the organisers had been very nice to them before that point. And the strangest bit for me that it seems none of these exhibitors were being charged a fee for being there, which doesn't make any sense to me. And then when I contacted the venue of the supposed show, they said it was tentatively booked in. The definition of tentatively being subject to further confirmation. And since then there's been a mixed bag with customers receiving refunds for the show. Some getting them straight away, and some still not receiving them to this day. And a whole new video could be made about Bass Review magazine. Again, a mixed bag. Some very positive comments, but some people are having an absolutely dreadful time. You'll also find more than a couple of accusations of AI-written articles. It also seems that a company called Cytec Limited are taking payments for this, and they've had a lot of name changes recently. So, my conclusion is this. I don't think this was ever a scam. I think it's one guy trying to run a bass show and a bass magazine on his own in a very difficult industry and getting a lot of things wrong. And I do believe that he could just be doing this for the love of the bass guitar and not to try and make a load of money. But the sad reality is that he might actually be doing more bad than good for our community at this point. And just this morning, people were getting these reminders of the now cancelled event, which I think sums everything up. And I felt especially sorry for this person who has stage 4 lung cancer and has not yet been refunded for her highest priced VIP ticket. But I do have good news for anyone who is planning to be at the show and has non-refundable travel and accommodation, if you didn't already know about this. Ian and Yannick have saved the day, and they're putting on their own last-minute event in London. And I'm going, so it'll be great to see some of you people in person, especially in the pub afterwards. Maybe I'll get sued for real this time. I don't even know how all that works, to be honest, but I haven't got any money.